What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated, I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And Andrew, we're here for the Miami, North Carolina edition of the preview podcast. Carolina obviously getting set to take on the Hurricanes. 3:30 p.m. kickoff this Saturday in Chapel Hill. That game will be televised on the ACC network. I believe Carolina's sitting at like a 7-point favorite right now if you're into that kind of stuff as well. So looks like it'll be a tight one. I know some people are saying that they should be underdogs, some Carolina fans that have officially jumped off the bandwagon, but it'll be a good game nonetheless. We'll dive into that a little bit more here shortly. Before we do that, head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com. You can find the link in the description below. It's a great time to sign up for a premium subscription, just $8.33 a month. Most of what we do is not free anyway. So if you want to access it, including our premium message boards, you have to sign up. We offer tons of perspective, tons of observations, not only for football and basketball, which we obviously cover, but recruiting as well. Dina and David obviously kill what they do in recruiting. So if you want to check that out, link in the description below, head on over there, sign up for just $8.33 a month. And it's a great time to do it with basketball season just around the corner. But AJ, let's dive into this a little bit more, man. Miami's sitting at 2-3 overall, 0-1 in the ACC. Have only played one ACC game, which is just wild to me. There's a few teams in the ACC that are like that as well, especially when you look at what Carolina's done. Carolina's sitting at 3-3 overall, 2-3 in the ACC. So Carolina's played 5 ACC games to Miami's 1. So definitely a different contrast in the opponents that they've played so far this season. But the first thing I want to ask you before we dive into Miami a little bit more, AJ, you've obviously been on the press conferences this week, hearing from Mac, the coordinators, players, Mac on Wednesday as well. A lot's been said. I think there's a lot to discuss about what's been said this week. We're not going to go too much in depth to that, obviously, because we're here to preview the game. But what do you think kind of the mindset of the program is right now? I'm trying to look for the right word. The vibe of the program is right now based on kind of what you've heard from everybody this week.
Well, there's a lot of questions and not as many answers. And
that's kind of what I'm taking.
When you're 3-3 and you've and just different elements of the team has been really bad in different games, and you know, even Virginia, the defense got shredded, gave up a record number of passing yards against this program, and first half gave up 366 yards total. They weren't really good that night. The offense was fantastic. Even Georgia State, we talked back then about some things that didn't go right, but it was camouflaged because they were significantly more talented, and that talent played out over the course of that game. They've had a lot of problems, and they're trying to fix those problems. And some of them, they're trying to identify why they are problems. So if you take Mac at his word, man, they're searching. And I think one of the things that they're really having a tough time understanding is why this team doesn't handle in-game adversity very well, and why the second quarters have been so awful. You got to keep playing games to get that stuff smoothed out. You can only fix so much during practice, during the week. And in fact, Max said on Wednesday that, we're not really focused too much on Miami. They're preparing for Miami. I don't want people to misunderstand that, but they're really making it about them because it doesn't really matter what Miami does. They got to do stuff right. Yeah. They got to fix, 9 different things basically. And if they don't, then it's going to be a tough time on Saturday. So that's what he means by saying that. And I said, how do you know? How do you know that some of these things are improving? And specifically, I asked him about communication. How do you know if the guys are improving this week in that area, or do you not really know? You can't really measure it. You just have to see them in the live fire of a game to see if they are better. And he kind of went into like, look, we had communication problems at Georgia Tech. We had none against Duke, and then they came back and they were awful against Florida State. So when you look ahead at this game and the vibe of the program, I think there's some confusion. I think they're surprised. I think they're still dealing with it. Nobody expected to be 3-3. Nobody expected to be in position where they have to fight for a bowl game. They've reset the goals to make a bowl game, which is interesting because not long ago it was win the ACC championship, and that's out the window. So I think the vibe is, let's kind of hit the reset button and try to finish strong here. And that's a hard thing to do when you're doing that because the expectations were way out of whack from where this team actually is. So because of that, nobody really knows what the heck we're going to see this weekend, including the coaches. They don't know.
Yeah.
And it makes it interesting for us, but it makes it scary as what for them.
Yeah. Fans too, I'm sure.
So that's the vibe. The vibe is, I think, uncertainty.
Yeah.
I think that they want to do well. They're trying. I think the effort's there. Max said they've had a good week of practice, but they got to see it, man. You got to see success.
Yeah.
When you struggle like they have, you want to get that confidence back up. You don't want to be fragile anymore. You got to see success. Success begets success, and it fortifies a lot of things.
Definitely. Yeah. Winning solves everything. It's one of my favorite sayings. It's just
Absolutely.
so true. It's just so true. It's one of the truest statements you'll ever hear.
And it fuels more winning.
Definitely. Winning breeds winning. I think you get a little taste of that and you want more of it, right? It's like a drug, for lack of a better word. You want to keep winning. That's why you play the sport in the end. So, yeah, let's dive into the offense real quick, AJ, starting with Miami, and then obviously I'll kick it to you to talk about Carolina defensively. But for those who don't know, De'Aaron King is out for the remainder of the season, had shoulder surgery. I actually saw the play that he hurt it early in the season, and I remember watching it live and being like, that looks like an injury right there that's going to take some time, just the way he hit the ground. It was a tough one to watch. Center Corey Gaynor's also out for Miami on Saturday as well. So you're talking about new quarterback, new center for Miami. So that should give Carolina a little bit of optimism, a little bit more of confidence going up against two new guys in that position in particular, because they've obviously been torched by some quarterbacks this year, to say the least. Tyler Van Dyke, quarterback that will be starting for the Hurricanes on Saturday, has already started 2 games. First start came against Central Connecticut State on September 25th. 6'4" redshirt freshman, big kid, 473 passing yards this season, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So not a bad stat line. Interesting thing as well, he actually did play a little bit against Carolina last year in Carolina's route down in Miami. So that was an interesting little tidbit that I found, because I'd totally forgotten about that one. But I think where you really need to focus on this team, though, is in the passing game. I think Cameron Harris is a solid running back, 5.9 yards per carry, 383 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. But looking at Charleston Rambo at that wide receiver position, transfer from Oklahoma, big-time player for them, 31 receptions on the year, 12.5 yards per catch, 387 yards on the season, 2 touchdowns. Really dangerous weapon for them, a guy that's fast, quick, get him out in space, and he can be a handful. And even another wide receiver, Xavier Restrepo, 10 receptions for 200 yards, 20 yards per catch. So definitely a big-time player in terms of a big yards per play kind of guy potential that's got it looks like the potential to take the roof off of defense. So top off of defense, I should say. So AJ, when you look at this, when you look at all the factors going into it, new quarterback, new center, some weapons at wide receiver, but an offense that just hasn't been great this season, averaging 30.4 points per game, and haven't scored more than 28 against an FBS team, which is an AJ stat. Very interesting one right there. What do you think Carolina needs to do defensively? Because I think it's pretty safe to say if they play like they did against FSU, I don't think it matters who Miami's quarterback is. It's going to be a long day for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, that's true. Or it could be an outstanding day, because they had a very good defensive game against Duke.
Yep.
And Duke didn't have the receiver, although I'm a big Bobo fan. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a guy like Rambo. I think there's a little bit more skill at wide receiver for Miami. I think Duke's much better in the run game. But I'm comparing Miami to Duke because I think that's kind of where Miami is right now.
Yeah.
They're not very good. They have been very self-destructive this year on offense and defense. They get a lot of penalties. They stymie their own drives. And now they're going to deal with a backup quarterback who I don't want to take his numbers out against Central Connecticut State. That's not right. But I'm going to judge him more by what he played against UVA. And he actually did okay in the second half.
Yeah.
He's a pro-style quarterback, but he had a 24-yard touchdown run against UVA, which I thought was pretty interesting. So UVA has given up a lot of rushing yards to quarterback this year, haven't they? At least based on what we've seen, because Sam had a big rushing game against them. Definitely. I think for Carolina, this is not an imposing offense. But if they don't communicate in the back of the defense, it doesn't matter. I mean, Jordan Travis is not Joe Montana, and he was 11 for 13 with 3 touchdown passes.
He did look fantastic, yeah.
They had a 3rd and 12, and they had an 18-yard completion right in front of Carolina's bench, and they won the Tar Heel within 8 yards. Mm-hmm. So if you cover like that, college-level kids that go to Miami are going to make plays. So Carolina, when Max said this is about us, they have to play well. They have to play smart. They have to communicate. They have to fit their gaps, make their fits on run defense. Force Miami, I hate to throw a lot. And I say that because I think Carolina, I think Carolina needs to have a game in which the secondary makes plays, in which they communicate well. The secondary makes plays, and the secondary comes up with a pick or two. They come up with some PBUs on 3rd down and really get the mojo going. They need that I think this game affords them that opportunity. And I could see in my mind playing out a scenario where Van Dyke has some success, but the Heels also get some stops with a secondary that I guarantee has been challenged this week, not just in performance, but with the pre-snap stuff, with the communication. It's been an issue enough that it's been addressed heavily this week, and it will be interesting to see how they play. I think they'll respond to that challenge against this defense, or excuse me, against this offense.
Definitely. Let's flip over to Miami on the defensive side of the ball. Bubba Bolden's kind of where you have to start. Safety for him, big-time player, USC transfer, leads the team with tackles, 34 tackles on the season. You look at the defensive line, I mean, in terms of sack leaders on the team, you got Jafari Harvey and Chance Williams lead the team with 2.5 sacks per game. But looking at this defense in terms, I know you have some other stats you can roll off if you want to in terms of where this Miami defense sits at overall nationally, but 11th ranked D in the ACC, 27 points per game. In comparison, that's only through 5 games for Miami. In comparison for Carolina through 6 games, UNC's at number 10 with 26.7. Keep in mind, though, when you look at who Miami's played, you got a Central Connecticut in there, you got Appalachian State, who the 2 wins have come against, but you got a 69-0 throw in there, which can obviously skew it a little bit in terms of where you rank it.
Throw it out. If you want to judge them, throw it out.
Throw it out the window in terms of that, because you really can only judge them off 4 games, in my opinion. And those 4 games really haven't looked great on either side of the ball for Miami. So what do you think Carolina has to do offensively to beat Miami? Because I think this is a defense that Miami that has some talent, has some guys out there that can cause you issues. But I also think this is a defense that Carolina can exploit if they can get back to playing at their best.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They're not very good against the pass. I think they're 90th or something like that, and maybe 100th in passing yards allowed per game. They're averaging like 250 yards allowed. They're not good defensively in the red zone. They're not great on third down defensively. They get a lot of penalties, which inflicts them on both sides of the ball. You could kill one drive and add to another. Mm-hmm. They're the kind of team, and like Carolina's dealt with this some, where you got a good defensive series going, and then there's a penalty that screws things up. Mm-hmm. It gives the other team a first down, and then they start to build a little mojo. So I do believe that on paper, this is an offense Carolina should be able to defend, and this is a defense Carolina should be able to exploit, like you just said. Sam can have a big game if he's protected, and that's the key. You got to protect him. I think that they got some talent up front. Max said this is the most talented front, I guess they would have played, most talented defense or team they've played so far this season. But I don't know what that says. They haven't played a very daunting schedule yet.
No, it hasn't been.
And they've struggled with that schedule. So I can envision seeing Sam, hit some other receivers if they could get open. I can envision Josh Downs having a big day. I could see Ty Chandler and DJ Jones combined having a pretty solid day, catching the ball out of the backfield, screwing up their defense a little bit, forcing them to be aware of a lot of stuff in which they will make mistakes, because that's what they've done so far. So I do think it is a team that they can exploit. But I'm just so stuck with the uncertainty about this team, like Mac has expressed multiple times this week, that it's fine to envision one thing happening, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen with this club, because they have to overcome themselves in order to exploit that defense. I do think it's possible. And I don't think, by the way, and I know you're going to get into what last year's game here for a second, but I don't think that matters worth anything. They can't go in here thinking that they're going to run for 7 trillion yards, because it's not going to happen. Sam could pass for a lot. I do think if you're going to lean one way or the other, I think Sam can have a really big passing game. And I think he needs one. I think this team needs a game where Sam could drop back and go through his progressions, and guys are getting open, and he could hit 7 different receivers. Emory Simmons needs to get open and catch the ball. Antoine Green needs to get open and catch the ball. They need to use their tight ends. Bryson Nesbitt can run a route, and he can catch a ball. Oh, yeah. And Kamara Morales can run a route and catch a ball. And they need to play guys. If the receivers that have been getting the majority of the snaps aren't getting open, let's see what Steven Gosnell can do. At some point, J.J. Jones and Gavin Blackwell and Kobe Paysar, those guys are going to get on the field. Someone's got to run routes and get open. If guys are getting open, I think this offense could still be they're 16th in the country right now, by the way, in total offense. And that's with all the warts. You get a couple more guys getting open, Mr. Howe's going to hum. He's going to pick that defense apart. I can see something like that happening, but I'm not going to predict it to happen so much, Jacob, because I'm not a fool.
Yeah.
Fool me once, fool me twice, fool me thrice, right? Something like that.
Yeah. It's hard to.
I do think they have the advantages. I think on paper, I think they should be okay against this defense, given the communication is there. Mm-hmm. I think on offense, they have an opportunity to have a pretty nice game.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think for me, offensively for Carolina, it's just about unusual suspects stepping up and making plays. You've had the usual suspects in Sam Howell, Josh Downs, to name a couple. I mean, that's really the only two guys that have, in my opinion, been consistent. I know Sam Howell's struggles at times have been because of those lack of weapons around him. If you can get a guy like DJ Jones to step up, if you can get a guy like Ty Chandler to have a similar game to what he had against UVA, the only issue is that it's particularly with the running back room is it's not just a running back that can say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to run for 150 yards today. There's got to be guys in front of him blocking for him as well. And you got to have guys out wide in the wide receiver room that can make some plays to open up that run game as well. So there's a lot of things on offense that kind of go hand in hand that kind of feed off each other. And I think that's why it is something that is difficult to fix, because I think a lot of the issues offensively kind of stem off each other, if that makes sense. But this Carolina offense, in my opinion, like you mentioned, does have the potential to put up some big time points on Miami, but I thought they had some big time potential to do that against Florida State as well.
They beat them last year on the ground.
Yep.
I think if they win Saturday, they're going to win with a big aerial attack.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the way things go. Of course, watch it end up being 60 runs and all that kind of stuff. But, and I say that
just because you said that,
because I said it, because that's just the way the season's going. It's been very unpredictable. I think that they win this game. If they win this game, I do think they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a big aerial attack. So if you like passing, I think Miami's going to be forced to pass a lot. I think Carolina will gladly pass a lot, and there will be stuff there. And you might see a couple of new guys running routes a little bit more than you have seen. And I think that might make things for very interesting, especially for scribes covering the team. Because if we always get a new little toy to write about, we're happy with that.
That's always nice. Definitely.
Always good to see new things to write about and focus on.
Oh yeah. 150%.
Like people watching care about that.
Oh yeah, of course. Right. Just the backstory to that. My first ever story I wrote for THI was Javonte Williams against Western Carolina, and look at where he is now. So you never know
before anybody knew who the heck he was, except the folks down there.
I had no idea. It's cool to watch
North Carolina.
Yeah, it's cool to see stuff like that. So I know you already gave your prediction. You're predicting a win. I'll go ahead and throw mine out there. Carolina fans, you might want to go ahead and turn off, because I'm predicting a loss on Saturday. I'm not confident in this pick at all. I haven't been confident in a single pick really in the last 2 or 3 weeks in particular. I'm just kind of flipping a coin here at home and seeing what hits. And I'm solely basing this off what you can see in my staff picks, which we'll roll out later this week. If you want to see that, check it out on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I just, for me personally, what I saw against Florida State, the uncertainty that I have with this team, I had to say, you know what? I'm going to switch it up. I've been predicting a lot of wins. I'm going to predict a loss this week just based on what I've seen. Now, since I have predicted a loss, which based on everything that's gone on this year with my predictions, that's basically a guarantee that Carolina will win this Saturday because of that.
So basically you're doing what George Costanza did when he got the Yankees job on Seinfeld. He went 100%. Against all of his natural instincts.
100%. So Carolina fans, you can come find me after the game when Carolina wins and come thank me, because I'm predicting a loss, which means they're going to win on Saturday. So I can't remember what my score line was. It was close. Don't get me wrong. I think it was 34-31. I think it's going to be a close game. But I think that might be a little bit high of a number for Miami when you look at some of the guys they have missing on offense in particular, and just kind of how they've struggled. But I didn't think, Florida State would put up as many points as they did last week either. So
let me throw a question at you real fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to flip the script here, the roles.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? And I'm going to ask everybody watching this, and if you're a member of our site, and you can post this in the thread, what do you think the crowd will be?
I don't think it'll be great. I tweeted it after the game. I was talking to some Carolina fans after the game last Saturday, Florida State, and I tweeted it out too. I really thought last week kind of felt like the last straw for me, and hear me out in terms of what I mean by last straw. I mean last straw in terms of having a good attendance the rest of the year. I thought the Florida State game attendance was shocking. I really did. I mean, I know
it was raining.
I know the weather played a little bit. I think the weather scared people away, because during the game, it was actually nice. I mean, I think it rained a little bit, but not much at all. So I think that definitely played a factor. But I was pretty shocked. I've been actually a little bit surprised at some of the crowds the whole year, because it hasn't really been a packed stadium like we saw a couple of years ago when Mac's first year.
The letdown factor, man.
100%.
The air went out of the balloon in Blacksburg.
Definitely. And that's what I kind of wanted to say to answer your question is I really thought the Florida State game, from what I've heard from fans and from what I saw with how quickly that stadium emptied out on Saturday, even though it wasn't even close to full anyway.
So answer the question.
I tweeted it out. I think we'll see a very similar crowd to what we saw against Florida State. I think there'll be a lot of empty seats, and I think we'll see that for the remainder of the year. Unless Carolina beats Miami, goes and beats Notre Dame, and I don't even know if that'll fix it. I think that would maybe bring a few more guys in the seats, but I think
how they do it. I think how they do it.
Definitely. That's
you can't get sacked 5 times. You can't get sacked 5 times and average 2.5 yards between tackles and win a game and have everybody so excited. They got to show that they're fixing stuff.
It's got to be progress. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. I'm thinking, 40,000.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be great. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be this Saturday. I think
I have a clue.
I think it's supposed to be nice.
It's supposed to be clear. I know that.
Which I think will definitely help. 3:30 games, a great, game.
Rain in Chapel Hill, man. There are a lot of dudes.
I was shocked last week.
Going out in the rain.
I was shocked. I really thought that Florida State game.
I'm not going to go out in the rain. We've had that talk before. I've talked with I have a lot of very good, I have a lot of friends and some really good friends that are Carolina fans, and they love to talk about that.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That whole thing where, man, it might be rain today, so I'm not going to go. I mean, heck, the Dean Dome has empty seats sometimes if it's raining.
I know, it's just you
got to walk from your car to inside, and you might get hit with some drops of rain. So I'm not going to go. And I have a few Carolina fans that they love to harp on that. That's why I'm doing it. So the ones who are watching, if they're watching this, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
100%. We're looking at you right now. Last thing I'll say too is I was shocked too because I was walking across campus going to the stadium last week to get there, and I thought there was a ton of people in Chapel Hill. I thought from what I'd seen this year, I really expected it to be the biggest crowd in Kenan of the season. I thought there was a ton of students around. Franklin Street was packed
because they had the 2020 graduation the next.
That must have been what it is. And I know there were some people in the stands, but I really, really expected that stadium to be a lot more full than it was, because that was the most packed I'd seen Chapel Hill for a game this season. And, obviously it was the worst.
There would have been more people there if it wasn't for the rain, but I think they're going to have a similar type crowd this weekend. So that's that.
I agree. I think it'll be like that against Wake.
Let us know. And if you're not a subscriber, sign up just to let us know. It's worth $8.33 to, but let us know how many people you think will be at the game.
100%. Get involved. It's a great time to do it too. I can't stress that enough. We got an awesome community over there. So I know
shameless plug.
Got to plug it, man.
Shameless.
You got to. We're working hard over here, man. You got to plug it and let the people know about it. So, yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap this one up. We're trying to keep these a little bit shorter as well, because I know early on the season we were going for about 2 hours on these, so we're trying to shorten these for you guys a little bit too.
Well, I think our attendance blabber probably took it back up to about the regular length.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. I need to go ahead and just cut it off right now and not even do the outro. But I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Thank you guys for watching. As always, appreciate everybody that's followed the preview podcast this season. And obviously we got a few more running out as Carolina goes into their last 6 games of the season. We'll see what the attendance is like on Saturday. Get involved on TarIllustrated.com. Sign up for just $8.33 a month. Link in the description below, like I plugged about 6 times this podcast. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well, so you know every single time we upload, and we do it a lot. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.